I've always loved perspective and seeing things from as many angles as possible. It's not about being smart, but perhaps understanding opinions that differ from mine, or maybe understanding why people do the things they do. It's why I studied sociology. It's why I work with people in general. So it's natural that tarot cards were very attractive to me. I've wanted to read tarot cards for a while, but it took me some time to get into it. I actually got my first set as a gift, which is what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to buy your first tarot card set. So my friend Karen came in clutch, but I kind of just let them sit there for a minute. I was nervous. I wasn't ready. Maybe I wasn't worthy. But I talked with my friend Joanna, who was willing to do this little podcast special with me, and she does tarot card readings. She's into the mystic, and Joanna is the first person whose cards I will read in this podcast. So I've always loved tarot, and I've always loved the divine, the mystic, even though I, as of right now, have not really experienced much divinity or mysticness. But one thing that I was really worried about was memorization, because I got a D in Spanish, I'm not good at memorizing. And so I think that's kind of why I held off, was because I was worried that, wouldn't know what cards exactly meant. I'd have to, look through the book and, So I guess, what's your response to that?
I think tarot is something, the more you do it, the better you get, and you learn as you go. It's really the best way to do it, is just get hands-on, touch your cards, and it's okay to look up each card as you go in the beginning, because the more you do it, you're going to flip that card eventually, and you're just going to know what it means. Because it could be different for each person, too, because every person's going to interpret it differently. So I think it's totally fine to not know at first and just to dive right in.
For my first reading, we went all out. I got Joanna a 10-card classic Celtic Cross tarot spread. According to Labyrinthos.co, this spread is flexible while also providing comprehensive answers to so many questions and topics. It's one of the rare tarot spreads that you can use even if you don't have a particular question to ask. With the Celtic Cross tarot spread, you can examine all the different aspects of a situation, getting a piece-by-piece breakdown of any event that has crossed your path.
Like you said, you could do the Celtic Cross, which I don't think that's what this is. And then you can do, there's a circle one that I've seen.
But there's so many different spreads that you can use with tarot cards. There's a financial forecast spread. I think there's a couple more. Love and relationship spread.
Oh, I could use that one.
Yeah, we could try it. We could try that.
Even though I've already been told my relationship future is not existent.
A whole health report spread.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't this cool?
That is really neat.
Fair warning, I did rely on the book of information for this reading, and for my own reading, and for the third reading I did in this podcast. Part of me wondered if this felt like a cop-out, but Joanna insisted that many tarot readers have a book of some sorts on hand, which helps them explain further and offer more perspective on certain cards. By sharing this tarot card journey with you, I felt like it would be better to have historical context. Tarot cards seem to have entered Europe from Egypt in the late 14th century. There's really no signs or evidence that it existed prior to this date. The card games were banned, which meant that they kind of spread wild through Europe. The first documented tarot packs were recorded between 1440 and 1450 in Milan, Italy. Some of the old decks included depictions of Roman gods and even birds. Tarot cards actually weren't even used to read fortunes, aka cartomancy, until perhaps even 1750, and that's the earliest known reading. By then, the cards are quite similar to what they are now. You have your major arcana with cards like the Magician, the Emperor, the Empress, the Moon, the Sun, the Star. And then you have your minor arcana, which was originally swords, batons, coins, and cups. Although more people are familiar with wands and pentacles, taking the place of batons and coins. Tarot card reading exploded in 1969 and exploded again into the digital publication age. And while current religions maybe frown on the use of divination, tarot cards and readings have been described as empowering and refreshing. Here we go. Okay, so I just lay it out?
So
Or do 3
I
steps?
will think of a question to ask the deck. And then you'll usually give the cards to me to shuffle. And then I'll hand them back to you.
Okay.
Or I think, before I do that, I split the deck with my left hand, I believe.
Okay.
And then after I've split the deck, I'll hand them back to you and you'll lay out the cards.
Okay.
So, I have to think of a question, though. So my question, so I'll pick them up with my intention, because now I'm putting my intention into them as well. And I'm going to ask them, what does 2021 have in store for me?
Oh, okay.
I like that question. So I'm going to shuffle them. I'm thinking about my question.
Shuffle and think.
And I know you already shuffled them a bit. So this is really just me putting my energy
into the cards. For the answer.
For my, But you're going to help interpret since they're your cards. You know, and I kind of I ask my angels to help give me guidance when we do this.
So let's start with your present position, which is the Tower.
And it's upside down.
Upside down.
So the present atmosphere in which the questioner is currently working and living.
And that Wheel of Fortune, Justice, Hangman, Death, Temperance. Oh, here we go. You have no choice but to make a decision. Denial and giving up aren't going to make the situation any better, so get clear about what to do and take cool-headed action. So it looks like you're going to be making important decisions next year. I assume, based on what I know about you, this would be major life decisions with graduating soon and becoming a working girl and what are you going to do and where are you going to go. And so I think that's going to be a huge theme for you next year, is going to be active decision making, because this is going to be a big step for you. So that's kind of what I would interpret that as. So a lot of upcoming decisions. And then this is the Devil.
The Devil. I always get shit like this.
And
Intermediate influence.
Intermediate influence.
Shows the nature of the influence or obstacle in which lie just ahead. Devil's coming my way, apparently.
So actually, and I kind of knew this was going to be a good thing. Oh wait, it's not in reverse, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, never mind. So this card is urging you to take a hard look at what holds you back and what makes you feel weak or ineffective. So I think right now you're going through perhaps issues with... There's a couple places in here where I don't know exactly how to respond because I don't know the cards that well. So I kind of had to take a deep breath, read, talk, and then figure out exactly what the cards were saying to Joanna. What makes you feel weak or ineffective? You're probably in a state of uncertainty, maybe.
It kind of reminds me of my desire for love right now.
Oh.
And it's kind of the people that I recently had to let go of my life, and they're still kind of lingering around. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe they're going to come back around.
Okay, let's see. Goal or destiny. Temperance.
Ooh, I like that card.
Major arcana today, my gosh. What we're looking at is you turning away from selfish behavior and cease living in isolation. Step out and consider the needs of others. Bring harmony and healing to your family. Larger actions can be made to basically contribute. So it's healing, harmony, moderation.
Which lines up perfectly with what I want to do.
Want.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
with
nursing, who doesn't want harmony? Who doesn't want to feel healing? Especially with what you do with nursing, but also what you do spiritually and what your mantra is and your personal self. So I think that's a really good card for you. Okay, distant past. Oh, it's your friend
I told
Death.
you, I always get this from my past.
Well, this
How
kind
crazy.
of makes sense of a rebirth in your past.
I always get this card in this exact spot. That is so weird.
Really?
Yeah. This is the third time I've gotten this card in this spot.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because, you've gone through a lot of transitions and endings. I think especially recently, with you and he who must not be named. That was a huge death of sorts.
Yeah, really. So this, number 5, recent past events. So the death card was from distant past, and this is my recent past events.
Okay, so
it shows,
distant, recent. So upright. So taking pride and satisfaction from a job well done is a great thrill. You're experiencing high reward from mastering a new skill. Focus, industry, satisfaction. For love, I know love's kind of important to you. It looks like you're beating your head against a wall to get your point across and stop it.
Yeah,
And so stop it.
spot on.
All right, future influence is 9 of Pentacles. A lot of pentacle
Flip
action.
the page right over.
Right. If your life has been, so this is future influence.
Okay.
So it's saying, if your life has been ho-hum, it's time to step into a new dimension. Change the scenery, experience a side of life you're missing, meeting new people to inspire you, learning about different cultures, enjoy the finer things life to have to offer. So it looks like, travel, exploration, indulgence, refinement is the key words here. So it looks like, especially because we're talking about your goal was next year. It's asking you to kind of step outside your bubble of sorts, right? So it's like you're going to want to do new things. You're going to try new things. You're going to want to go places.
So 7 is the questioner. Shows the questioner's present position or attitude. And then 8, environmental factors. 9, inner emotions. And 10, final results. Okay.
So this shows the questioner's present position or attitude, attempts to place the questioner in proper perspective. 10.
Oh my.
That's
8,
3 in
9,
a
10.
house in a row.
And 3 is my lucky number when it comes to these things. I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
So your perfect dream might not be a house with a white picket fence, but if it is, then that dream is becoming a reality. If you have a different idea of a flawless life, then be prepared to see that vision become crystal clear. So I think it's your attitude. Basically, it's achievement, wisdom, satisfaction, and family. These are key words here. Kind of give you that, like, you worked for it, you deserve it. It's time to kind of celebrate that. So environmental factors. Page of Pentacles.
Maybe we should have shuffled more.
Now I'm wondering if they're not shuffled, but this is interesting though, because this is showing your influences, right?
Yeah.
So it's core, it's support, service, travel. You've met with an opportunity. Expect hands-on training, working with your hands to provide a quality service to others. You are having to tend to the needs of others, but you have support. So it looks like this is kind of a supportive position. It's showing that you are giving support, but then you're also getting support. Inner emotions. This is Pentacles? No, 4 of Swords. So this is asking for you to do more contemplation, meditation, inner focus, and spirituality.
Wow.
Which I think is really on track for you.
Yeah, I just told that the other, 2 days ago.
Yeah. So you must find a way to stabilize your inner turmoil through serene inner focus. There's fundamental issues you have to address. Consider solving this issue in the invisible spiritual realms first. Quietly contemplate situations in the solace of your heart.
That's crazy. It's like spot on.
Yeah, because I feel like that's what you're going through right now is like a lot of like, where am I going? Who am I trying to be? Etc.
And finding my spiritual self too. That's definitely what I'm doing.
Literally,
right now.
spirituality is a big piece here.
That's crazy.
And love, it says it's time to take a break in the relationship.
No, it doesn't. Because
There's a
that's
bone of
also been like
contention.
a paradigm shift for me recently. Is
Yeah.
is saying I gotta focus on myself. Wow, that's crazy.
It's really interesting.
That is really interesting.
So your final results, the culmination of everything is revealed, providing events and influence continue as indicated. So this is 8 of Swords.
Oh my. I can't. Okay, so this will be my final results for 2020, which was my question.
Okay. Paralyzed, inaction, disappointment, self-pity.
Great.
But that is 2020, so...
I mean, 2021.
2021,
This was
ooh.
my question for 2021.
So it's like, in love, it's saying you're dealing with major disappointment. You may
Which
be a victim,
kinda
but
figured that would
you're
happen.
using self-pity. That's not going to improve the situation. So I think the final result is kind of what it's saying here is like, be forewarned.
Things might not go the way I planned.
Yeah, that like, if you're not careful, like you can fall into the self-pity and the inaction. And the inaction of that final result is very parallel with some of the Pentacles being about result and success and achievement. So I would take this as a firm warning of sorts, that if you're not careful, you can fall into that trap. You know, like here at career, it says you're mired in excessive details. there's just too many distractions, which kind of plays into the swords being about clear mind, clear heart, clear body. You had high hopes about establishing things where there's setbacks, but like you want to keep the dream alive. So if there are setbacks, like it's saying, okay, you should be able to overcome them, right? With some of these other cards, what they're saying, and like you want that harmony, right? So that's like the ultimate, that's your goal. But if you're not careful, that won't happen. So that's my first reading.
Gosh. I think you did amazing.
Did I?
Yes.
I felt like I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants a little bit.
No, I think the cards worked for you amazingly.
I feel really confident in my ability of reading people, and I feel like reading cards is kind of like reading people with the interpretation of the cards attached. It's like an expansion of the skill sets I already have. It would be nice to not have to rely on the book, but I'm glad I did because I feel like it gave me some context to think about.
Yeah, I definitely don't think you should be afraid to do that at first. And like I said, like the more you get to know what each card means, you will be able to get to that point where you flip the card and you know what it's saying. Because it'll be a combination of what the card means, like
but
symbolizes.
Then what they mean with each other, right?
But also like what you're hearing in your head. You know, you'll have that spiritual guidance too as well.
I mean, it's kind of easier too because I know you. If this was like a random stranger, and I feel like it'd be like, oh, how do you... That's
why you have to rely on those things that you hear in your head. Like with the rainbows that I was saying.
Yeah, the rainbows.
You know, like you have to open up to that spiritual side, and whatever pops in your head, you gotta go with it. And maybe it makes sense to the reader. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to them. Because it's what they needed to hear.
For my second reading, I read Myself. It was really easy and just had to flip the switch, or should I say cards. Question is, will I achieve all that I want to achieve? So I think
And give yourself a time limit. You know, be specific.
Be specific? Okay. I have a few things lined up for the next year and a half. Will I achieve most of it? And will good things come from it? So, and it has to be from the top, or I thought you could pick.
You could pick, yeah. You could pick which one feels good to you.
So I feel like with my shuffling, I kind of want to.
For sure.
Thank you, deck. Okay, so past, Death Reversed.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So Death Reversed. We were just kind of in the area of death, so
yeah.
He's on my mind. So I know death forward is rebirth, but I think death in the past, yes, this is actually really, I think, applicable, even present. It's going to feel like the whole world is rallying against your efforts to stand for your beliefs. Your surroundings are moving and transitioning so fast that it's hard to stay resolute. In types of career, it's like going back to basic. So the reverse is kind of like resistance, taking a stand, going back to your basics. And I think that's a great thing of my past, is that I've always kind of managed to be like, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And when there's kind of like obstacles or like, a war to be fought, I fight on it. In terms of back to basics, I think that's great. Remember when the psychic was like, what did you want to be when you were 8 years old?
Yes.
I think of that often, of like,
wow,
going back to what I wanted when I was young, and kind of going back to the basics of like who I am, instead of all these pompousness and and for me, it kind of, a lot of my dreams do have to do with writing, and so it's kind of like a call to that for me too.
And going back to school too.
Yeah, and going back to school and enjoying that academic and like so kind of so in the past I've definitely felt like me versus the world, which I think is kind of like part of the motto of this card, like with the resistance to kind of push through that. Whereas my present is the upside down 2 of Pentacles. So this is choices right now can be made without considering consequences. These choices have caught up with you and it puts you in a tailspin. So it's being accountable and responsible for your actions. Eliminating dramatic reactions to your plate is advisable. So,
Does that make sense to you?
I think it might be how I see the world around me, because I don't think of myself as unaccountable or undependable or irresponsible, or, I mean, I guess I can be dramatic. Those are kind of the key words here. But it does kind of feel like I am surrounded by undependable, irresponsible, unaccountable, these almost plagues of sorts. And I maybe let them affect me, even if I'm not defined by that. So maybe this is kind of just, you know, especially with going with the obstacles of the past. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like that resistance, and it's like you need to remember to resist that. And then if you are proving yourself to be unaccountable, undependable, and irresponsible, I won't get things done. Because it goes back to my question.
Oh, exactly. That's what I was
were you gonna say that?
You know, think back to what you were asking them.
I think what it's basically saying is that, like, you know, depending on my choices, yeah, like, you can get things done. But if I prove to be leaning towards what the card is saying, and it's like, yeah, it's not going to get done, of course, right? It's how can my goals get done, and how can I be successful if I'm not accountable and dependable and responsible?
Absolutely.
So I think it really actually plays. And this is upside down deck today. My goodness, 3 of Wands. I think Wands is before Pentacles. You made some changes because you hope for a better, more productive life, which is great, but you're clinging to old habits and it's thwarting new growth. You can't make progress if you stay in the past. So this is clinging, flatlining, really dejected, and self-pity, which I think is really applicable with all. I think these cards actually really do work together.
Yeah.
Really well. And I think what it's kind of saying here is, like, you know, not to be dejected and clinging. So, like, when projects of mine do happen and they don't succeed as well as I wanted them to, they don't bring, like, critical acclamation that I want to, it's like you just keep moving forward.
I think goes right along with your first card, too.
Exactly. I mean, it's like kind of like this resistance of the past where it's like, you know, this present of, like, you know,
going back to the basics of when you were little, remember? And and being stuck, yeah.
And not to feel dejected that, you know, it's not happening, or that it's not happening quickly enough. And so, career, I mean, this is actually really perfect for me. It's like you've been thinking about jumping ship and launching into a new field. Fear of leaving your comfort zone stops you. You'll never know what's out there if you don't explore all your options. I think that's really perfect because great. I know, like, I enjoy my time on radio, but, like, I know that's not what I meant to do exactly. Like, it's like a B+ fit, which part of me is, like, justifying, well, B+ is great, right? Like, most people don't even get to the C+ of what they want to do in life. But I think, you know, writing and videography, it's calling to be more so. Yeah. And so for this to say, like, you don't want to leave your comfort zone, and, like, you need to, like, explore your options. That's a great reminder in the future that, like, I can't be held down by, like, the dejected, like, it's just not going to happen, or, like, oh, you know, it's a good reminder that I won't get anywhere unless I open myself up. So, and that was my personal reading for myself.
My own reading felt a little bleak. The beauty of the cards is that you can interpret them the way you want to. Joanna mentioned how you should go off of your first thought, your first impression, and that's usually the right one. For me, the reading was a warning of sorts, not what is indicative of what will happen, but a guide of what could happen if I don't work hard or stray off my path. I wanted to read one more person's tarot cards before I released this podcast, but with rises of COVID-19, meeting up with people didn't seem like an option. So instead, I Googled to see if I could do an online tarot card reading. A lot of more experienced tarot card readers said that I could, and so thankfully my friend Monica agreed for me to do her cards. She's never had her cards read before I read her cards.
Okay, so we're going to do past, present, future, and this is used to discern outcomes of actions that influence the timing of events. So you actually do ask a question. So for example, they offer, like, it's just an example. What are some outcomes of my choices about my career? And the idea is that we're going to do past, present, future on your question. So your question has to be able to, like, be quantifiable in the past, present, and future.
Okay.
So, I mean, if that gives you an idea of what you might want to ask, but I don't want to, like, tell you what to ask.
Okay, I've got it.
Okay.
So I can ask the question to the card.
Yes, ask the question.
Okay. How has my life been impacted in my decision to move back to Ohio?
So Monica wants to know how her life has been impacted since she moved back to Ohio. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start shuffling the cards, and you just tell me whenever. If you want me to take a minute to shuffle, and then what happens is I'll pick the top 3 cards.
Okay.
So there's no need for you to like.
Oh, okay.
them out.
Yeah, well, you can stop. You know,
Okay.
if you'd like.
All right. So this is your past card, your present, and your future. All right. Let me get my book ready to help discern.
Okay.
All right. So for your past, we have the King of Pentacles. And the King of Pentacles was upright. So because there's 2 things to note is that there's upright and downright. So King of Pentacles. Let's take a look. Confidence, strength, charisma, and strategy is what that means. So in your past, you were confident about, I think, your location, I would argue. So you knew, that it was time to leave Ohio. It was time to move on. In terms of like your career, it says here, like, you're putting your foot down, you're taking a firm stand that will get you results. And I would argue that you did that. You took that strength, that confidence, and that determination, and you went with it. You didn't ignore it. So it's like, and it even mentions here, you have a lot of sway with your colleagues. You pull strings to get things done in your world. You relish responsibility. You take pride in exerting your power and control. You embrace challenges because you can conquer them. So that's your past. And I think that really kind of summarizes your school days, and then like when you decided to leave for Texas and then move to Europe. And so that's, I think, a really good summary of your past. All right. Oh,
I like
three of Pentacles is your mid. So 3 of Pentacles. So those are both Pentacle House. So that's really interesting. So 3, it showcases success, hard work, getting noticed, and growth. So this is actually really in tune with the King of Pentacles. So what we're seeing here is like a continuation of like that growth. If this was upside down, this would have meant that you're plateau, that you're not, growing and working hard, succeeding. So what's interesting is here, and this is under the family, but I think this kind of applies to you. It's like, you've built a solid foundation, but maybe you might need a third party to help weigh in on your situation. So it's kind of hinting that like you've been working hard. Like it says, be prepared to show off your stuff. You get noticed. It says that you might have a chance to express yourself. So it says the work that you do to impress people and power will pay off in the future. This is a time of great opportunity and advancement. So, I think in Ohio, when you've been back now, you've taken that back. Like you've taken like, I'm back and I'm going to like do with it like the same that I've done in my past. I'm going to echo that in the present. And I think even in moments where, you feel like, plateaued, you still show a very, like you come off successful and hardworking. Which I think is very important too. And your future is the High Priestess card. So that's a major card, actually. So that's going to be pretty important to read through. So what this kind of talks about is time, emotion, balance. So in terms of your career, it says here, trust your instinct. If you sense something or someone is holding you from progress, you might be right. It's important to be patient and calm in moments of stress. So, and then in terms of the love, talks about, have open, honest discussions with your loved one. If there's something unspoken, speak it. So in terms of your future, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with like, we're seeing the success of a past into a success of a present. And what we're seeing in the future is like, it's like holding yourself to those standards a little bit with like, this idea of, if you're thinking of change, if you're thinking, trust your instinct, don't doubt yourself. If you have an idea of what's right for you, do it. It's kind of like, and I think, you have this past and present that hardworking, successful, you don't take BS, you're fighting through life, right? And this future card saying like, hold on to that, trust yourself. And I think that goes well, because, you've trusted yourself, right? In the past, when you left Ohio, in the present, when you came back, and your future cards just say no matter what, you'll make the right decision. Just make it wisely. Any questions? What do we think? Thoughts?
Well, I loved it. It was perfect.
Do you feel, so this was your first reading, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel? You feel like not as scary, or you were like, oh, that's easier than I thought?
Oh, I think it was easier.
Okay, that's good.
Plus, you're like a trusted friend, so like I can ask you like whatever. And I love that you're like I've seen other people get theirs done, and I feel like some of the people, and I guess it's all like your like presence when doing it, but I felt like they were kind of like monotone. So like I was very engaged with you.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I mean?
And I think too, like you had a very positive deck. Like when I did my own reading the first time, it was kind of a little like daunting because like the cards were indicating that like I was not living up to my full power and strength. And whereas here, like what we're seeing is like success, hard work. So that's good. I think it's kind of scary. I mean, I think the cards allow themselves to be read no matter, like you can be positive or negative about any set. I do like when it's positive, but I feel like this set really did a good job in tuning into your personality. And I'm glad because this is only my third reading, which is kind of to think about.
Yeah, and it's a virtual one.
I know. I'm like, I can't believe this is possible, but apparently it is. And it went really well. So
yeah,
hey.
I think you should do more.
Absolutely. I felt much more confident with Monica, and I don't know if it was just because I had done 2 readings or I was getting used to kind of the procedure. So 3 readings down. What does that mean going forward? Well, I hope to do more readings, even if it's just with friends. For me, tarot readings really allow me to muse over situations, problems, and think about solutions, remaining optimistic. Can't we all use a little bit of that in our modern life?